What is up, guys? Marcellus Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, here to educate you on health, fitness, social well-being. And in this video, guys, I'm going to be taking you through the first 2 days of this mesocycle. We're in a whole brand new macro cycle, so that's going to be the next 3 mesocycles or blocks leading up to my meet. So all of my days look a little bit different than what they have the past couple of blocks. So with this first part of the video, I'm showing you day 1, which is my push focus volume day. I'm going to just be explaining to you what I'm doing and kind of what the goal of this day is. And then on the second part of the video is going to be raw, where I take you through day 2, which is my pull focus day. And while doing that, I'm going to be explaining to you guys some things about power building, as far as certain misconceptions about it, how to actually go about it, and what power building really means in terms of being a powerlifter but still quote unquote looking like a bodybuilder, how to incorporate accessory movements, assistance movements, everything like that. So on screen, you guys just saw me hit my top set of 6 at RP6 on squats. I had build-up sets all the way up to this, so you guys already know how that goes. Doing sets of 6 for build-ups until I get to my top set that feels like an RP6. So that was 364 pounds for that. After that, I had 2 back-down sets of 7 with 12% less in my top set, or 88% of my top set, if that's easier, which is 320 pounds. So I had that for 2 sets of 7, and this felt pretty good. All in all, anytime, guys, that I have to transition back into volume, even though it feels kind of like tiring at first, it always feels better every time I do it. So like the transition this time felt a lot better than the last time I had to transition, and the time before that, and so on and so forth. So it's nice to know that my body gets more acclimated each and every time. Then after that, I had bench press for my top set of 6 at RP6, followed by 2 back down sets of 7. Now, I'm no longer benching 5 times a week, for the mere fact that we got a lot of the benefits of that we wanted to, in terms of just higher frequency, getting more technically proficient at the movement, getting a lot of weekly volume in, and then being able to push intensity while still building volume up into my test day. Now, as I explained to you guys before, it doesn't take anywhere near as much volume to maintain adaptations that you've gained as it does to keep building upon them. So now we're going to go ahead and go back to benching 3 times a week, and we're just doing a lot of different things with that in order to like intensify. So we've got a lot of volume in, we've got variations of different things we're going to be doing with the bench press, just to kind of see how it works now, going back with 3 times a week and kind of building off that base we made with the higher volume. And like I said, this is pretty much like a press focused day. So you guys know that before, Tuesdays were pretty much like my SBD volume day, and then Wednesday would kind of be just more like a pull accessory focused day. What we've done now is we've changed this day to a purely like a push focus day. So after my squats and my bench press, I'm able to come in and get some good push accessory movements in as well. So right now you guys see that I'm doing flat dumbbell press, just a nice easy way to get some additional volume in on the chest without being overly fatigued, because it's just not quite as taxing as the barbell bench press. And it's also just allowing me to focus still on maintaining that scapular position, because if you're able to do that with the dumbbells, it's actually a lot easier to do with the barbell. After that, I had hip shark squats. Once again, same concept here, just another way to get more volume in on my legs and doing a motion that's kind of similar to the squat, but just nowhere near as taxing, because it has no effect on my upper back, my core, nothing like that. And I believe I had this for 3 sets of 8. I'm definitely having to get used to this, because it's not a machine that I've used before, so I'm definitely have to figure out, like, you know, how much weight to load. And in general, with all the accessory moves I did on this day, I pretty much undershot everything. Like, the RPs were already low, but I feel like I kind of undershot everything, which is fine though, because I'll just be able to build into it as this block continues on. And then after that, I had dumbbell shoulder press. I'm used to Brendan usually giving me like standing single arm dumbbell OHP, but this time around we just have, you know, normal dumbbell overhead press for 3 sets of 12. So this is just a nice change of pace, and this actually felt really, really good. All these movements just felt really healthy, which is a big point of what we're doing with having more variation and having more of these accessory movements on this day. Is just, you know, changing things up, getting more adaptations due to the new stimulus, and so far it's feeling really, really good. And then to finish things off, guys, I had a superset. 3 sets of 20 lateral raises, superset with 3 sets of 20 tricep press downs. And like I said, really with this block, with the way as far as how the days are set up, Saturdays are still an SBD day. Sundays are still like a full body accessory day to follow up that SBD day. And then of course I rest on Mondays. Tuesdays have gone from a full SBD volume day to where we now have, you know, the volume for squat and bench on Tuesdays, and then the volume for my secondary day on the deadlift on Wednesdays, followed with my pull accessories. And then Thursdays are pretty much still the same as far as being like that tertiary day for the squat and bench press, which I'll be taking you guys through that at a point, you know, later whenever I get around to that video. But just kind of want to tell you what some of the differences are as far as this programming with the next few blocks, as far as benching 3 times a week, and just kind of taking you through the accessory movements on this day. Like I said, the rest of the video I'll be talking to you a whole lot more about accessories, assistance movements, nutrition, all these aspects that I feel like people kind of get wrong when it comes to power building. So hopefully you guys enjoy that along with the rest of the video, and I will talk to you guys later. All right, guys, so it is currently Wednesday. You just saw Tuesday's workout, my, my push focus day as far as the squat, the bench, then my accessory work, hitting my shoulders, quads, delts, additional volume for the chest, all that good stuff. Now I'm going to be taking you through my volume focused pull day. So we've got sumo deadlifts and then some pull accessory work after that. And while I'm taking you guys through this workout, like I kind of said in the voiceover, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the importance of kind of like getting a better understanding of what power building, quote unquote power building really is, just because like I said, it's a term that's tossed around a lot. I've already kind of explained to you guys, from a programming perspective, how we kind of go about power building, in the sense of it's about, periodization. Having, you have some blocks like my last block, which is more focused, on intensity, than having other blocks that are like this one that are more focused on, higher volume, building, hypertrophy, and how, I've done videos explaining how the two go hand in hand, how strength and muscle mass go hand in hand. But beyond that, I just want to take you guys through today and give you like examples, showing you like how each movement that I'm doing like has a purpose, right? Explaining you the difference between like, an assistance movement versus an accessory movement, and as well as just kind of telling you about like, things from like the nutritional standpoint, like in terms of, okay, well, don't I still want to like, try to get like really, really big, even if that means put on additional fat for powerlifting, because I want to be as strong as possible. I'm going to be talking about all of that during today's workout. So let's get to the gym and get it in. Stepped outside, so hopefully you can hear me better, just because it's always really loud in the gym. We always blasting the tunes. But yeah, so you guys saw me work up to my build up sets of 7 to my top set of 7 at RP6 with 420 pounds on sumo deadlift. Then I had 2 back down sets of 7 with 88% of my top set, and then I had 2 sets of 8 Romanian deadlifts all the way down to the floor. So as you guys can see, now that we're like, on a whole new macro cycle, which, a set, the next set, the next few mesocycles, the next few blocks, we've gone back from the last couple blocks where we're doing beltless deadlifts on this day to
bringing back the sumo deadlift. You guys know that we were doing the sumo deadlift on the secondary pull day before, but while we were doing like, you know, the little mini peaking testing to my mini test day this past Saturday, we put in beltless deads instead, just because it's more comp specific to my conventional deadlift. Obviously, beltless conventional pulls are going to be more specific to conventional pulls than sumo deadlifts. But now that we're like, you know, 12 weeks out from the meet, we've gone back with sumo deadlifts just because it's a nice movement for me to really get a lot of good volume on without over fatiguing my lower back. It allows me to work on things such as like, you know, lower back extension, upper back tightness, staying in the quads and driving the quads, which are very useful for my conventional deadlift. And then with the Romanian deadlift to the floor, same thing. I'm focusing on keeping my upper back nice and tight, keeping my lower back in a nice, tight, extended position, all the way down to the floor. So these are two very good assistance movements. Now, that's the first thing I want to tell you guys about in terms of power building, because even though a lot of you now understand that, okay, in order to power build, it's not about doing a bunch of heavy and volume at once. It's about, you know, whether I'm doing DUP or concurrent style training, it's having specific days that are either focused more on volume or hypertrophy, or more focused more on intensity for strength, or even having a whole block dedicated to strength and then a whole block dedicated to volume, depending on how you're going about your programming. But besides that, another way that you guys mess up a lot is you think the idea of power building means you come in, you do like, you know, one of the big three, bench, squat, deadlift, and then you do an entire bodybuilding workout after that, where you're just doing like mindless volume, like 8-10 different movements that really have no actual value or carryover to your goals of getting stronger on the big three. Or even if you're not a power lifter, if you just have specific movements you're focused on, maybe instead of bench, squat, and deadlift, you're focused on weighted pull-ups, weighted dips, front squats, there's still certain movements that you want to go about picking that are going to help you get stronger on those movements that are going to benefit you in your overall training goals. Because if like, for example, if you come in and you do bench press, and after that you do overhead press, weighted dips, incline barbell press, flat dumbbell press, and like 4 different hammer strength press machines, yeah, you're getting a whole lot of volume in, but a lot of that becomes junk volume in the sense of it's volume that you can't actually recover from, and it's not going to get much of a stimulus from, as well as the fact that it just has very little carryover. So the difference between like an assistance movement and then your basic accessory movement, which I'll be going over later, is an assistance movement is a close variant of your comp specific lift. So in my case, sumo deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, those are 2 close variation deadlifts of my competition conventional style deadlift. For the bench press, there's close grip bench press, incline bench press. If you bench really close, it may be the wide grip bench press, Larson press when your feet are up while you're bench pressing. For squats, there's front squats, there's high bar squats. These are movements that are going to have very good carryover because they're such similar variations of the same type of movement that you're trying to focus on, but maybe they emphasize something a little bit more. Like Romanian deadlifts, I'm emphasizing hip hinging and maintaining neutral back a whole lot more, which will be really good for me on the conventional deadlift, since you guys know that my biggest weakness on the conventional deadlift is making sure that I'm really keeping that lower back extended and not allowing it to fold me over. So that's how you want to go about picking your assistance movements, close variations that are going to help you work on the weaknesses in your main movement. Anyway, now that's done, I've got my actual accessory work for the day, so I'm going to knock some of that out and then talk to you guys about accessory work and how you want to go about that. that was pretty much it for the workout. You saw me do all my accessories, and that's kind of what I want to touch up on next is the importance of accessories. Like I said, assistance movements are those close variations of your comp-specific lifts or the main lifts that you're focusing on. Accessory movements are movements that aren't necessarily variations, but they still have some type of benefit to the main lifts that you're focusing on and just the overall symmetry of your training programming. So there's 3 things that I look for whenever I'm doing an accessory lift. One, and it doesn't have to have all 3 of these things, but if I put an accessory lift in my program, it needs to have at least one of these 3 things. One is, of course, just getting additional volume in on the muscle groups that I'm trying to focus on in order for hypertrophy, which makes sense even from a powerlifting standpoint because more muscle mass means more potential force production. For example, yesterday when I did the pick shark, that's not exactly a variation of the barbell squats. There's also no barbell involved, but it's an accessory lift that allows me to get more total volume in on my legs without taxing things like my core, my lower back, my upper back, which is really beneficial for me since I have to squat 2 more times this week, as well as, you know, having deadlifts and bench. I don't want to like just do like, okay, well, I need more volume on my legs. Let me just throw in 3, 5 more additional sets of squats when I'm already squatting 3 times a week at pretty high volume. I need to be able to get a little bit more volume in that I can adequately recover from. So that's where something like pick shark squats would be very useful because it lets me get that additional volume and additional hypertrophy without over fatiguing myself because it's pretty easy to recover from. Same thing with doing something like, you know, any back accessory movement. Obviously, you're not actually like, you know, doing any retraction rowing or vertical pulling in any of the big 3, but having a strong upper back is obviously important for all of the big 3. For my bench, my squat, my deadlift, it's good for having a nice strong rack position. A strong upper back is going to help me stay in position on the deadlifts. A strong upper back is going to help me stay in position for the bench press when I'm retracting and depressing. And that kind of goes into the second thing that I look for is that functional aspect. Even though it may not be a close variant of the comp-specific lift, if it still has a functional aspect with the accessory movement that has some carryover to my lifts, that helps me. Like I just said, if I'm trying to get a nice strong rack position on the squats, then being able to properly retract and depress is important. For my setup on the bench press, you guys have seen my video for my bench setup, and the emphasis of proper scapular retraction and depression for stability, as well as retracting on the way down so I can keep that chest nice and big. So when I do things like my pull-ups where I'm focusing on scapular depression, or my cable rows where I'm focusing on scapular retraction, that's going to help me. That's going to have both hypertrophy benefits as well as functional carryover. And then the third thing, guys, is just movement variation. Just getting a movement that's actually outside of the big 3 or may not have much to do with the big 3 just because it feels healthy. You guys know that overuse injury is a big part of that. It's just doing the same movements over and over and over and over. And it doesn't even so much matter if you're going heavy, going light, doing a lot of volume or not. It's just you're putting your body through the same repetitive motions over and over and over, and that can start to run the joints. So you help prevent certain imbalances and make your body feel more structurally sound, like from a symmetrical standpoint, as far as just injury prevention, when you throw in those movements that may not have anything to do with the big 3, but they're just good, healthy movements to get in. That's like that's where, like, you know, even things like my single joint movements, like doing tricep press downs, doing curls, those have nothing really to do with the big 3. Yeah, like with the tricep press downs, you could argue I can get a little bit of additional volume in on, you know, my triceps to help with bench press, but like with the bicep, there's not a whole lot of benefit to it, but it's just a good, healthy movement for my joints. So long as I'm not overdoing it, doing like, you know, 10 sets of 10 on curls, that's just going to be excessive. But doing something like that, like with the rope hammer curls, is good for my body. Doing different variations of rows, doing other types of pressing movements, something like a weighted dip, you know, whenever it's adequately programmed, can be just a good change of pace from what I'm doing, especially when I'm further away from the meet. Obviously, the closer to the meet, the more conspecific I want to be, but when I'm further out and in a volume phase, getting more of that variation in my accessory movements can be very useful, whether it's a single joint movement or a compound accessory lift, like, you know, like the flat dumbbell press, for example, things like that. And then the last thing I want to touch on with you guys was understanding kind of like the nutritional aspect of power building, right? Because the reality is, guys, there's some quote-unquote power builders out there where they don't even necessarily do anywhere near as much accessory moves as I do or have as much variation as what I do in my training, but it's just the fact that they quote-unquote have the bodybuilder look. And that just comes down to maintaining body composition, guys. I think a lot of people have this idea that powerlifters just have to be fat, which obviously isn't the case. And I would even make the argument that in most cases, being at a healthier and like a leaner body composition is going to be better for you. If you're somebody where you're sitting at the bottom of your weight class, then there's no reason for you to just put on a whole bunch of unnecessary fat to try to fill that weight class up quickly. You do want to build up into the weight class, but build up into that weight class gradually so that can be actual lean mass. What do you think is going to benefit you more? If you're at the bottom of a weight class and you gain, like, you know, over the next few years, 10 pounds of lean muscle mass, which is going to actually help you produce more force, or just force feeding yourself to the top of that weight class in a few months and getting a bunch of additional fat. Yeah, you may feel a little bit better, recovery may be a little bit better, but 10 pounds of fat is not going to help you lift more weight anywhere near as much as 10 pounds of actual lean mass. And if you're somebody like me where you're sitting at the top of the weight class, because my weight class, the top of the 74 kg weight class is 163 pounds, and I walk around like 163 to 165, then there's definitely no reason I want to be at the top of my weight class with just a bunch of unnecessary fluff. If it's more like just unnecessary fat, it makes more sense for me to kind of like cut that down a little bit, and that way I can make weight a lot easier. Or if I want to build back up to where I am, do it in a lean fashion. That's why, like, even though yes, I sit at the top of my weight class, I'm still relatively lean. Yes, this is like the thickest or quote unquote fluffiest that I've been, because I realized that I am a bit too lean right now and I can get bigger, but I filled it out gradually. So instead of walking around like, you know, in the upper 150s, now I'm walking around like in the low 160s, but I did it very gradually. So that's what it comes to as far as like just having the quote-unquote look of a power builder where you're a power builder, but you still do bodybuilding. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video, guys. I hope that was clear. I hope that was informative. As always, if you guys have any questions, leave in the comments down below. But hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you did. If not, leave a comment down below. Let me know what I can do to get better. Like the video, share, subscribe. Keep it simple, specific, scientific. I'll catch y'all later.